So hello everyone, great to be with you. This is the first time in the circle that I haven't actually given out a theme ahead of time, and there's a reason for that. Let me just give you a couple quick announcements first, and I'll say more about that. I think I don't always say my name, so my name is Brian Piergrossi. For those who are, you guys all know me, but those who are tuning on the playback. And I think we've been doing this for like 2 months. Would you say, Jeff? Like 2 months now? So right about there, I'd say.
Yeah.
And there's a Patreon page to support, become a monthly member and support what we're doing here. See if I can put that in the thread. A couple public events to tell you about coming up. October 26th, Saturday, October 26th, this month we'll be in Atlanta with John and Kathy Stringer. We'll be doing a breath work. John will be doing a concert. So we're looking forward to that. Um, November 16th, we'll have a 1 day retreat here at our place again. I know a lot of people weren't able to be here due to weather conditions, natural disasters. So it'll be a great chance to join us. I thought it was really Jeff was at that. Annie was there, of course, and some of the people here are planning to attend that are already here with us. So I think it's a something we'll be doing more regularly. And we have our annual New Year's retreat coming up New Year's Eve as well. And that's a really special way to for us as a community to kind of um, kind of bring the previous year, kind of reflect on the previous year and kind of bring it to a close and closure is an interesting thing because I think we were talking about this in the men's mastermind the other night. Like you can only really have closure for something when you have appreciation and gratitude for it, and you look at the lessons that there are to learn, and you're able to integrate those lessons, and then you can kind of visualize the year ahead, from a space of not carrying forward any residual resentments um, or anything weighing you down from the previous year. So I think it's a time to reflect on the previous year and then really from a very conscious, intentional way be available to what you want to create in the new year, as opposed to getting smashed. This is the alternative to getting smashed. Much more highly recommended, in my opinion. It's funny all these terms for like getting drunk, like smashed, trashed, wasted. It's like God, sounds like a bad thing. All these words for it. Um, so yeah, I was kind of feeling back into the sort of the origins of a lot of what I've done in my life and the stuff that I've shared. And one of the reasons that this is called the circle is because I used to gather people in a circle, because I think there's real power in the circle. So we literally sit in a circle. And in that circle, the intention would just be to be available to whatever truth wants to flow through in the moment. So it's like getting very still inside, getting very quiet inside, becoming very centered inside, and like really listening closely. Because when people think of listening, they think of like, oh, listening to someone else, right? Which is important. But maybe even more important, or definitely as important, is listening to yourself, listening to yourself when you're talking, listening to yourself when you're speaking, having the consciousness to and the availability to be present to what wants to come through you in the moment. And there's something very powerful. The more you're able to do that, there's something very powerful that comes through more so and more so and more so. One of the things I've been talking about with different clients is social anxiety, right? So social anxiety is a common thing. I think it's even more common now because with the COVID era and all that, and people just kind of on the screen for hours and hours and hours, and being locked in their homes, and it's like, oh, I want to be with human beings, but now I don't really know how to do it anymore, you know. Um, but I think one of the fundamental components about being a human being is human connection, is community. That's why I feel like what we're doing is so important because we're building community, you know, and that I think is what we're called to do at this time in the human condition is to build this community together. So you build community by coming together, and you come together by overcoming social anxiety, and you overcome social anxiety by learning to be in the moment. And when you're in the moment, you're not thinking about how you're supposed to be, how you should do it or not do it, what you should say or not say, what you should think or not say, what you should feel or not feel. It's just coming through you. It's alive in the moment. And then that allows other people to relax into the moment. And the more you relax in the moment, and the more they relax in the moment, then the more you're in this unified field that's alive to the moment. And I really want to mention that and verbalize that because I feel like this next chapter of the circle is really um, more intentionally about that. So more about opening up to this experiential space together. And then ideally people that listening kind of like reverberates out. So people that listen later, they're able to feel that and they're able to access this space as well. But this is really where all the miracles are. This is where like all the transcendent power is. You know, this is where the magic is. This is where the amazing synchronicities are and synergistic happenings are. It's in the now, it's in the moment, and it's being available to the moment. So it's kind of two levels. It's being available to notice, being available to be aware and to see. You know, you have to be present to see, and it's being a channel for this energy to flow through you in the moment. And one of the things we've also been talking about is our essential nature good or bad? So I think if you think that your essential nature is bad, you don't want to be in the moment because you'll do bad things, you know. But the more you start to realize that your essential nature is good and that we are an emanation of God, um, and God is this loving presence that's at the source point of all creation, and the source point of all creation is actually now. This is like the most amazing thing of all, you know, because when you're talking to somebody and you're like the source point of all creation, oh, that was a long time ago, you know, that was like, you know, science will tell you that was like whatever millions of years ago. It's like, no, the source point of creation is now and now and now and now and now. It's always now. It's always now. It's not, there is no millions of years ago. There is no millions of years in the future. There's just now. It's just now. And so in the now, you think about the story, and um the story is a story of linear time. So the story is this time of like, you know, this happened 1,000 years ago, this happened and the story is always changing too. So it's like a almost like a kaleidoscope of dreams, like and there's like a multidimensionality where the more you awaken in consciousness, the more the story changes and changes and changes. This is why it's like not really so important to argue with people about their story versus your story because based on the consciousness you're at, there's going to be a different story, a different narrative. Um, so, but when you think that all you are is the mind, so then you're attached to a certain narrative and a certain story, and then someone else, if they're attached to a different narrative or a different story, it's so disorienting to your sense of who you are that it makes you want to, you know, fight that person or crush that person or even become violent or, you know, it's very threatening to your existence because you think all you are is the story, you know, but you're not the story. The story is changing. The story is fluid. The story is always moving. And this linear sense of the story is actually emerging out of the present moment. It's actually emerging out of the now being the timeless essence. Um, and that timeless essence being who we really are, being the essence of who we really are. So the more you start to like realize this, and you realize it not by the mind, this is the key thing. You realize it not by the mind. So it's not something you think your way into. And it's not something you actually think your way out of. That's the amazing thing too. It's like it's the fundamental essence of who you are, and you start to gain like more confidence in this and more confidence in this and more confidence in this. And then the more you're confident in this in yourself, you see it in other people. So it's like this divine eternal essence, which to me is what Jesus was talking about. Jesus was teaching about, talking about eternal life. You know, how to have eternal life. Well, the way to have eternal life is to realize that eternal life is the truth. You know, it's interesting when there's so much controversy about when Jesus says, "I am the way, the way, the life, and the truth." You know, it's like these little these phrases you can just like meditate on and meditate on. But it's like if if he recognizes himself as eternal life, then he is the way, the life, and the truth. And his only purpose is to support us to realize that we are also resting in eternal life. We're resting in the eternity of life. We are the eternal sparks of the divine also. So we're not separate from God. And so this recognition, this realization is like such a game changer. It changes everything. It's 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 the greatest level of transformation because when you recognize that just by being present in the moment, you are naturally uh, a channel for for God's love, God's intelligence, God's miracles to flow through you as a unique expression of who you are. So then that's really the way to overcome fear is to realize that more and more fully and more deeply. But you don't realize it by thinking about it. You don't realize it by trying to um, analyze it. You don't realize it by, taking a series of mental steps. Because the reason for that is because if you're taking a series of mental steps, that means you're going to get there in the future. If that makes sense. Like if I take, you know, these five mental steps, I'll get there in 2 weeks. But you can't get there in 2 weeks because you can only get there now because it's now. So the thinking is actually um, not, it's like inhibiting you from, it's like you're narrowing yourself down as opposed to opening yourself up. And you open yourself up by basically opening up to the awe, to the wonder that's here in the moment. Because when you're in a state of wonder, if you're like truly in a state of wonder, which comes from humility, like, wow, I don't even, this is like so amazing. This moment is so amazing. If you open up to this space of amazement, which is why Jesus talks so much about becoming like a child, because the child is in the state of, like my son is 6 months old now. And I swear to God, every time he sees me, he's like he's just like amazed. Like I don't know what he's amazed at, but he's just amazed. Like, he can't believe that like he's alive or something. It's incredible. He's just like, you know, and it's like we lose that as we get older, and we just so boring. Oh, same fucking person. Jesus Christ, why is it you again? And we had this about like our wives or our husbands or our kids or the neighbors, and same thing, same shit, different day. You know, and it's like we're losing the majesty, the wonder of life, which is here. It's not like it's like we have to do anything to get it. It's just the reality. The reality is that like the word awesome is like people think awesome means it's like better than something else, but actually the actual word of awesome is like it's just awe. You're like in a state of awe, like you're in a state of wonder. Like, wow, that I can't even comprehend my mind around that, you know? And that's actually life in every moment. Like we can't comprehend our minds around this, you know? And so a child has that sense of wonder. When you're in that sense of wonder, you're not thinking. You're just in a state, your mind is quiet. And when your mind is quiet, you're available. And that's why this question is important. What are you available for? Are you available for the essential goodness that you are, or the essential badness that you are, right? But what you'll find is like we are essentially an expression of the loving source of all creation. So that's kind of, I think, where people talk about like faith and things like that, because maybe if you don't know that, you have to kind of just trust somebody else that's telling you, right? But you'll discover that that's the truth. That's the heart of what we are. And the illusion of division and separation creates the fear and the anxiety. And when we're in a state of fear and anxiety, then we don't have the clarity, but we've lost the clear connection to the source. And then when we lost the connection to the source, then we'll do things that we'll make mistakes, basically, and then and we learned how to stay connected to the source, you know, how to stay more deeply and deeply in communion with God. And I think it's we're designed, at least a lot of this path is designed to be in community with others, because other people reflect us in different ways, and there's value in that. We're communal creatures, so there's something really valuable and important about coming together in this way. And so that's what I wanted to explore tonight, and explore primarily experientially, you know, primarily explore if we can open to this space more and more exponentially, which comes experientially, excuse me, which comes from being present in this space together. A phrase that came to me right before we started tonight is the great emptying. So where you kind of start on this path and you're kind of wanting to add things. It's very much like the consumeristic mindset, but it goes into the spiritual realm then. So it's like, maybe before you wanted, like, more and more cars and more dresses and more whatever, right? But now it's like, I want more and more spiritual knowledge and more spiritual knowledge and spiritual knowledge. And there's this point where it's like, it's not a process of addition, but it's a process of subtraction. So it's like the great emptying, it's like the more you're emptying out all the concepts that you're attached to, the more you start to reawaken that sense of innocence, that sense of wonder, that sense of awe. And then it's kind of like you're in the great emptying. The emptying is an opening. In the opening, you're available to be a channel for God. You're available to be a vessel for God to flow through you in the moment. So with that, I'm going to pause and let anybody who wants to share any questions or comments or reflections or anything that got ignited by what I've shared so far. Did that trigger anything for you, James? I guess trigger is a bad word these days. Did that inspire anything for you?
Um, it did inspire a little something when you were talking about it because like you were talking about shedding off a bunch of stuff instead of adding on.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting you say that because right now I'm shedding off a lot of the dark stuff that pops up
Yep.
within myself, and it's kind of interesting. I just kind of learned there's something about the dark, and it kind of is like it was invented in the dark, and it doesn't know itself, so it needs light to actually find out what it is. So it's like when our awareness comes to it, it like boom, it gets to see what it is, and then from that point, it's done. It's like that bit of that
Yeah.
darkness is
That's
done and dealt
beautifully
with.
said.
So
The dark needs the light to see what it is, and then when it sees what it is, it's done.
yeah, and that's it.
Beautifully
And that's
said.
all it's been waiting for. So, and there's a lot, and that's just it. There's a slew of stuff still waiting to come about, and that's what makes it kind of fun because I know that's not me,
Hmm.
and it's just part of something that's within me, which is, we're all a universe, and we all have a bit of whatever that comes up. I don't want to say for everybody. I'll keep it personal, but for within myself, yeah, it's like there's a universe of things ready to come up and be seen, and so it's kind of interesting how this is playing out. So yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, that's well said.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing. Jacob's enjoying the hot tub, it looks like.
Yeah, what's up, guys? Good to be here with you.
Good to have you here.
Some fun stuff jumping into exploring tonight.
Hmm.
Glad to be here. Got some friends out here with us.
Yep.
Got Vic back there.
Yep.
Uh, we got Ryan and we got John over there.
Yep.
We're just dudes chilling in the hot tub out by the beach, escaping what we were in last week.
Escaping the fall of
Um,
humanity.
The yeah, reset, the apocalypse. Getting recharged and rejuvenated and
Yep.
relaxed.
Yep.
Able to tap back into this source
Yep. That's a
in
key
a relaxed.
thing. That's a key thing is being in a relaxed state is so fundamental. And doing a session with somebody today, and she's just an example of a lot of people where there's that sense that it's basically a trauma state, right? Like um I'm I'm guarded and I'm tight and I'm tense, and I feel like if I relax and open, something bad's gonna happen to me, right? But being able to relax is really fundamental. Like if you recognize that, your essential nature is divine and miraculous and amazing and as an expression of God, then relaxing is key, because if you're tight, then nothing, not only can nothing come out, nothing can go in. So it's just like you just start to just kind of like die, you know? Like everything in the universe needs the life force to go in and to go out. And this is why we work so much with the breath, why the breath is so fundamental. We work because the breath is like, the breath is like you're opening, see the energy, and then the energy is going in, the energy is going out, the energy is going in, the energy is going out. And I actually think that the more fully and deeply you breathe, the more intelligent you become. And when I say intelligent, I don't just mean like, oh, I'm thinking all kinds of thoughts. Like it's actually more like the energy is like going down into your heart, it's going down into your gut. Like our intelligence is formed by every part of our body, every organ, every cell um, is informing us. And so when we're breathing into all the parts of our body, and then we're getting informed by all the parts of our body. And then when we exhale, we're you could say we're like expressing ourselves through all the parts of ourselves in the world. So we're becoming more whole, basically. And becoming more whole is to become more receptive to all the intelligence of the universe, and then to be able to express ourselves through all the intelligence of the universe. But that requires being relaxed. That's the
Yeah,
fundamental component. And the crazy thing is, it's like hard to be relaxed in our world because for a lot of reasons, but like the way it's almost like there's like this the social construct that we're in, the social cultural construct is like this kind of just like layer of anxiety and fear, and especially like the time that we're in now, it's like amplified, right? And there's always going to be things to be anxious and fearful about, if you want to focus your attention there, you can always find things. Um, and the media, um, I think the media wants to grab our attention, and the way to grab our attention is, I was thinking about this today, like how simple the formula actually is. And it's been the formula forever. It's like all throughout history. It's basically you make people very fearful and anxious. So you drop a narrative that's makes people very fearful and anxious. And then once they're fearful and anxious, you tell them that you have the solution to help them to save the day. So that's like kind of like the two-step process. It's like, and you see it with like corporations, you see it with the government, you see it with, big pharma, you see it with the military industrial complex. It's like first you create like a problem that makes people like fearful and anxious, and then you like, well, but it's okay. We, just do what I want you to do. So it's like they're gaining power over you through that process. So, but if you're able to stay grounded in yourself and not get caught up in the fear and anxiety, then they don't have the power over you. And they don't like that, but that's just the reality that's just the way it works, right? So that state of being relaxed, I think, is like it's something that like there's kind of like an idea that like if you're setting the intention to be relaxed, that you're not doing something that's important, or you're not doing something that's like benefiting the world, or maybe even you're self-centered or something like that. But I think it's actually fundamental. It's like the key to everything. You have to be in a relaxed state. Now, are there moments of uh, conflict? Are there moments of battle where um, you need to tense up? I would say actually rarely, because even in that kind of situation, if you can think of it like from like a martial arts perspective, you can be kind of relaxed in your body and be able to flow and be able to move and be alert and be attentive. You're going to fare much better than if you're tight and constricted inside. Um, so yeah, it's a fundamental thing that is kind of the source point of everything else.
Yeah, that's an interesting point for me to explore right now after just going through that chaos in Asheville and not being able to relax and
Yeah.
therefore like not having that direct connection to God
Yeah. Yeah.
and also forgetting to breathe.
Yep.
Like and
Goes
feeling like it,
together.
yeah, feeling like I couldn't step out of that tense place. So that brings up the question for me: is it then safe? I guess if like the martial artists do it and maintain their center and their calm, and so it would probably be very beneficial to remember to breathe and remember the practices and maintain that center relaxed position amongst the chaos to make better decisions and take better care of what needs to be taken care of. So that's a good lesson for me, just kind of tuning into that and
Totally.
remembering, yeah,
Totally.
trying to remain in that place of relaxation.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and I'm finding that's really like, when I think that was the mastermind you came in on. Yeah, right. And I was like, man, he's a lot of sorts. You got to get out of there. And so
yeah,
then, so then you got out, and now you're in a much more relaxed state. But I'm encountering that with a lot of people. I'm actually intentionally, like I think I told you this, I'm intentionally spending less and less time on Facebook and Instagram right now. Um, but whenever I pop on there and take a peek for different reasons, um, it's like the more anxious and fearful you become, the more you're not thinking clearly. And so the more you're just like kind of literally going insane. And that's kind of what I see with a lot of people that are posting stuff from the Asheville area right now. It's like they're not mentally well, you know, and then the more you're in that state, then you can't think clearly, so you don't even like realize there's options, there's alternative options, you know. You're just kind of like, this is my only um that's the interesting thing. Like the more anxious you get and the more fear-filled you get, um, you know what it is? It's your creativity. Your creativity diminishes more and more and more until there is no creativity, you know. But the more relaxed you are, then, and when I say relaxed, I mean like also, I don't mean like being like asleep, you know. It's like this combination of relaxed but also alert. That's kind of the awakened consciousness, or the, you know, when what you're aspiring to in meditation is like being relaxed but also being alert at the same time. So heightened state of alertness and a heightened state of relaxation together is the optimal state. So then you're more, yeah, you're more available for the creativity to flow through you. And then another great question we could, you know, we could throw in there is, if you're encountering someone that's in a anxious state or is in a fearful state, um, how do you help them? Right? That's another good question, because I think a lot of people do need help right now.
I actually have a question for Jacob. Jacob, since you were directly in the chaos of the storm, I'm just wondering if you felt like that storm in and of itself was preventing you from having a direct connection with God in that moment. Because I think that was part of the, I don't like to use the word agenda, but that's kind of what comes to my mind. Like the part of what happens in those types of situations. I think intentionally those things are getting in our way of our direct connection with God to prevent us from being relaxed and in a state of accepting and bringing in what we need from the inside rather than the outside.
So I think for me, my experience was the what what the storm brought, as far as like what followed, what the storm created there, like all that tension in the city, that chaos, the people just driving circles and doing loops by my house, and people walking, and then seeing all the destruction and seeing the heartbreak and experiencing all that, I think put me in that really tense, like locked up state. Like I
Sure.
was anxious and I was like scared and I was even like in a sense paranoid, and thinking and projecting stories and trying to prepare for those stories. And um, I think it's a really good lesson for me, because I've had experiences before when I've been in like difficult kind of chaotic situations, and I'm able to maintain my center and stay grounded and like stay calm. But this was like next level, like something
Oh yeah,
I
very
had no,
intense. Pretty
yeah.
intense. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I felt like I didn't have control, and I wish I had thought about it like in that moment. I wish I had been capable to be present enough to realize, like, okay, like slow down, breathe, gain control of yourself, reconnect with your soul. Like this body, this existence, this reality is what you're experiencing now. Um, but I think it would have been amazing to connect back to God and find my center and maintain that calm. And I think that's like, now that we're bringing this up, I'm really grateful that we're talking about this, because now, next time I'll have the opportunity, and I hope that I'm more aware and more present, like to realize that in the moment, because after all, I am connected. I do have that control. I have that ability to tap in and like tap out. Like,
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
Thank you for
yeah,
sharing. Yeah, I was just curious, just because, and in those moments that we all have moments like that, right? Where we're just like, we get caught up in our mind, we get caught up in the chaos, we get caught up in the weird, unsettled energy that's coming out in whatever form, and all of a sudden we're like not connected and we're not breathing and I mean, it just happens. But I think the fact that you've reflected on it and been able to look back and see, I think just that awareness that you're having is profound, because a lot of people don't even have that in and of itself, the awareness, that next time to go within instead of without. And I think that's huge, because a lot of people don't have that awareness.
Right. And
Even
even if it's huge or small,
right,
even if it's the
exactly.
catastrophe or the experience, whatever it is, even if it's a, category 4 hurricane flooding the mountains and
Right.
doing destruction, you can still maintain that connection and that
Yeah.
sense of support and being okay and being in control and calm and able to operate from that place.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Well, I think the fact that you got out of there,
Yeah.
you left, you knew you needed to take
I
a step
felt
back
I
and
felt
reset.
it in my muscles. I felt it in my body. Like
Yeah.
it was just, oh, and I've slept so much better since I've been here. Like I've been, uh, like most mornings I've slept till after 8 and just like totally waking up in the night to go use the bathroom or to roll over. And like generally over the past several months, that would keep me up for hours. And here it's like there's this sense of tired and I'm able to like remain tired and sleepy every time I wake up and I fall right back asleep. And it's just been amazing to kind of relax and, um, yeah, get reconnected.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think one thing to be mindful of is that we're never actually disconnected. Like no one can actually
Right.
disconnect us. It's kind of like
That's the truth.
we think we're disconnected and we're like on the level of conscious awareness, it feels like we're disconnected and maybe, we're acting in a way. So everything has the appearance of disconnection, but we can't actually ever be truly disconnected because we're a part of the universe, you know? Um, so we're always actually connected. And it's just a matter of being aware of that and bringing our awareness to that truth. And then the other thing is, we kind of talked this a little bit last week, but the positive things that come out or can come out if we're open to it, um, intense situations, so there is a lot of stories emerging about how people are feeling, um, a much deeper sense of community, that have been like moving through the aftermath of the hurricane. People like getting to know their neighbors in ways they never did before, and you know, feeling the support and the love and the the care, for each other in really powerful ways. And I think those will be ways that will, move forward. Like they'll deepen the relationships moving forward. I think anybody in any kind of relationship knows that when you face like a difficulty, whether it's like a romantic relationship or a marriage or friendship or whatever the dynamic of the relationship is, right? When you face a difficulty and it's either going to break you or it's going to make you stronger, you know? So, but you don't know, like you have to face the things to be made stronger. You can't kind of like self-create that, So like the adversity will make a relationship, if you're committed to it, stronger. Will make the bond stronger and will make the trust stronger and it'll deepen an intimacy together. So I think those are some real positive aspects. Probably the biggest thing that comes out of, difficult situations, tense situations, that it's important to be mindful of. It's not all negative. And then also I think it helps people to remember what's really important and what's not important, what they really appreciate, what there is to be grateful for. So yeah. Okay, I think Rachel had her hand up. I saw somewhere. You're on mute. There we go.
Okay. I didn't have my hand up, but I can share what I was
Oh,
thinking.
I saw your hand came up at the top. It said Rachel has her hand up. Sorry.
Oh, is it this?
Yeah,
That's the hand?
that's the hand.
Okay. Okay. I'm learning.
What did you think it was?
I didn't know.
Oh,
It's just, I don't know. I don't know Zoom at all. It's um
maybe you're just meant to speak
maybe
in
I
this
am.
moment.
I guess what I was thinking was this idea of relaxing and breathing has actually been on my mind a lot the last months. I've had some pretty terrible back pain
Hmm.
the last year, and I have realized I've been walking around tense and tight breath, I think most of my life.
Hmm.
And I'm just now learning that I can like release my muscles and
Yep.
take deep breaths all the time.
Yep.
I remind myself all the time. And
Yep.
I'm always stretching and breathing into my stomach is
Hmm.
like big, and I'm feeling better, a lot better. So, and I'm trying to couple that with spiritual things too, that like spirit led how I move my body and how I breathe. It's just nonstop. Just yeah, that's it.
Beautiful. What kind of
Yeah,
spirit-led stuff?
everything. Like
Hmm.
I get up in the morning and I stretch, and
Hmm.
like God, what stretches should I do that's gonna fix me and make me feel better
Perfect. Love it.
and kill this day. Um, even when I ride my bike to work, and I think about like relaxing my muscles so the energy can go to going faster on the bike and not being
Hmm.
tense in my upper body.
Yeah.
That does me no good.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and just what to think about all the time. Like who should I think about? Who needs prayer? Like who? I just
Yeah.
want my thoughts to always go where they should and not somewhere in the dark corner that's not profitable.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
spirit led everything.
that that's really ties in with what we're talking about tonight because so let's go to like physical regimen of like what to do for physical wellness. And you can have like a whole list of I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this movement, then this movement, this movement, this movement, this movement, and then you follow that movement, right? But there's a different way to approach it, which is what you're talking about, which is like, okay, what's the best way for me to move right now in this moment? So ecstatic dance, something I used to do a lot. Speaking of Asheville, back in Asheville, and basically, as opposed to being a structured, um, what do you call it, structured dance thing, where it's like put your foot here and put your foot there, or whatever. The idea is like you're just open to the moment, and you're moving how your body's wants to move in the moment. I mean, if you really, the more you actually tune in to the practice internally in yourself, you can actually heal yourself by moving the way your body wants to move. It's a pretty amazing thing, and you can do that throughout the day. Like whenever you feel like, it's like you start to just be able to, by being present in the moment and by being connected to your body, feel what your body needs in the moment. And sometimes your body needs to, move a certain direction. Sometimes it needs to stretch in a certain direction. Sometimes it needs to be still. Sometimes it needs to stop moving. Sometimes it needs to eat. Sometimes it needs to stop eating. Sometimes it needs to sleep. Sometimes it needs to wake up. It's like you start to really get in alignment with the guidance in the moment. And I think that's what this is all about, is like being able to tune in to that guidance moment by moment and knowing what you need. Bethany?
Just on that note, just reminds me of a course I took a few years ago that was more about like just tuning into your body. And I think part of the struggle a lot of people have is that they're so disconnected from their bodies that
Yeah.
they don't even know how to listen
Yeah.
to what their body actually is saying it needs. And I'm guilty of this myself. I mean, there's days where I push my body beyond what it really wants because my mind is saying one thing and my body is saying another, and my mind isn't wanting to listen to my body, whereas my body
Yeah.
is like screaming, please stop, please rest, but my mind's like, no, no, I got to keep going. And so, there's that battle between mind and body, but I know how to listen to my body, even though I ignore it sometimes. I know it's sending me messages through, different ways that it feels or different ways that it hurts. And I think so many people are just so up in their mind and so up in their head that they either tune things out or they attribute what they're feeling in their body to something else that's not even that it's a disconnection.
Yeah.
Um,
I think there's a few things off of that, right? So then one thing is like the body's almost like a some kind of annoyance where you take a drug to try to suppress the feeling so it goes away, where the feeling's actually giving you the direction of where to go. So that's a
Yeah,
big thing.
the drug's like a band-aid. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'll just put a band-aid on it and it'll be okay until it's not.
Yeah. And then the other thing is um, I think this is an area where religion has gone wrong, right? In a lot of ways, where it's like created this like the body's bad
Yeah,
and it's created this kind of disconnection with the body, you know. But I think the true religion, right, the true awakening of is the unified field of communion with the mind, body, the heart, and the spirit, all in this like how would you say like a that's beyond any kind of separation or division. They're just flowing together, like they're an expression of the divine flowing together, and um and the body being the expression, the human body, our bodies being the expression, the divine expression in the physical world. So I think that's the like the next level of awakening spiritually is the connection, the communion with not just our bodies, but the physical world in general. So the spiritual and the physical come together, we're
yeah.
unified
I
together.
know for me, in my background in religion upbringing, there was a
Yep.
lot of shame built around and messaging, and there's shame in your body.
Yep.
There's so big, and so for me, I mean that's just been one of my kind of paths of awakening, I guess if you want to call that, has just been letting go of that, and like you said, yeah, I mean we're a divine expression for
Hmm.
sure of the creator. I mean he created each one of us in this body, and here we are in this vessel to carry his divine love and express that in whatever way we feel so moved in each moment. And so I think that there to be able to embody is huge.
Yeah. And the
So
body has all the divine intelligence inside it.
yeah,
So the body is telling if we're like listening to the body, it's telling us what we need, which way to go, which way not to go. Um, it's there. And so it's like when we cut ourselves off from the body, we're cutting ourselves off from our intelligence, our divine intelligence, because it's all in, encoded inside us. We have the intelligence of the entire universe in our bodies. Now, I do I do get why that kind of came into being, which is because if you think all you are is your body and you don't have any spiritual awareness at all, and all you know is the material realm. I think that was kind of the impetus of like people saying like, "Hey, you're more than you're not just the body. You know, we realize you're the timeless essence. You're the eternal spiritual essence." Um, but that doesn't mean that the body's bad. That just means you're more than the body, right? So I think that's the misunderstanding that or the ignorance that comes into being. Yes, Jeff.
Yeah, Brian. Kind of going back to what Rachel was talking about with taking deep breaths. This is something that's been helping me because I deal with a lot of social anxiety, um, and just anxiety in general. But yeah, I've been so just like she said, just being real conscious about taking deep breaths and then checking that throughout the day.
Hmm.
And then I'm starting to notice when I'm in a anxious state or a stress state or whatever, generally speaking, my breath is real shallow. So by kind of like paying attention to my breath, I have been able to kind of catch myself, like especially with anxiety before I kind of, you know, catch myself and like, okay, now I'm going off on this wild, crazy story just by noticing my breath. Um,
Yep.
so that's been really helpful for me. So wanted to share that.
Thanks for sharing. I know part of the social
And then
anxiety is speaking into the circle. So
it is absolutely. And yeah, I kind of wanted to say a little more, I guess. Like what happens to me is like my heart starts beating all fast. Like right now, I have knots in my stomach and all that, and I find like it's I'm sitting here like whatever I'm gonna say, is that right? Is it wrong? Is it good or is it bad? And I get caught up in that, and I think that like it's all me that's judging myself, and I think like as I'm learning to deal with this, and I guess just like you're saying, just being present and just letting go of good or bad, and just yeah, just saying whatever is there is very helpful. So I don't know if that makes sense, but
makes sense.
it's
Yeah, I think it comes to being if you're in the moment, then you don't have time to think about if it's right or if it's wrong,
right, right.
you know? So the more you're in the moment, then there's no time to think. It's like thinking is you have to kind of step out of the moment to be thinking about stuff, you know? But the more
Yeah.
you come into the moment, then there's not thinking involved. It's just you're just in what's happening, you know, you're part of the co-creation. But I just wanted to follow up on your first point. Because like I tell people a lot, like if you want to if you don't care about the spirit you know the high flying spiritual concepts or you know the fancy spiritual ideas, just learn how to breathe. That'll take care of all of it. You know, if you really learn how to breathe,
Hmm.
you know, and this goes back, you know, this goes all the way back to like the um ancient yogis, if not further, of like thousands of years ago, of like learning like when you work with the breath, you can you can access all kinds of like heightened states of spiritual consciousness, but you can also really on the most fundamental level, you just access like we've been talking about, like the true essence of who you really are. You know, you return to that. Sometimes they call it the innocence consciousness. You
Hmm.
know, so you're like you're returning to that natural state of who you are, and that's where your power is. You know, Eckhart Tolle has that the phrase "the power of now." And it's like you're accessing that power which is in the moment, which is authentic to you. And but I think what's super exciting is exploring that with a group. You know, because then we open up to the power together more and more and more, and then we become exponentially more powerful. And the miracles are like opening up more and more between us. And I feel like that's what we're designed to basically explore together. And when you do that with a group, it's so much more fun and exciting than any other kind of party. You know what I mean? Like I don't care what your drug of choice is, whatever. It's like way better. It's like the greatest, like I say all the time, like God is the greatest high of all, you know? So then imagine that with a group of people exploring that together. And it's the most phenomenal feeling because I think it's what we're designed for.
Hey Brian, would you ever consider offering a breathwork session during our circle time?
Yeah, it's a good idea.
I know it's not quite the same when you do it online, but for those of us that don't live close to you guys, so
Yep, we could do that one of these times coming up. And we do them online with people, personal sessions with people online as well, and in person, of course. In fact, I wanted to mention that. I think you reminded me. I forgot to say that. Um, Personal retreats and personal healing sessions at our place. We're starting to do more of them here. And so I just wanted to put that out to people, especially speaking of people in Asheville area who may be feeling a lot of stress or anxiety, but really anybody anywhere. I want to put that out to people that this is my vision when we moved here was that this will be like a healing sanctuary for others. And so create that space more. And that's my vision too. In our 1 day retreat on the 16th of November, we'll have the space for that. And yeah, I think one of these upcoming circles we can do we can do like a full breath work. We could also just start doing some more breathing meditation together, some meditation, guided meditations together, and start doing some more of that as well together. But in the meanwhile, just really just this question of like, where is my breath right now? Because it's for sure that if you're feeling anxious and you're feeling um, stressed, overly stressed, then you're not breathing. So then if you start to just take a few deep breaths, it'll just start to reset the system. And just the more you're mindful throughout the day, just to breathe deeply, just to breathe into your stomach, breathe into your chest, and yeah, the whole system kind of resets and recalibrates, and you're entering more and more the natural state that you were designed to be a vessel for. It's interesting because like we are designed to definitely experience like moments of stress, and moments of conflict, and like that's a part of life, right? But now it's like we can create all these things in our head that we can be feeling it like, chronically, that's not actually happening in the physical world around us. So like, maybe these things back in the day would happen like, I don't know, once every few months or a few years or whatever. But now it's like you can just, like there's people that'll be drawn to watching, um, won't say who they are, but there's people that could be drawn to watching like horror movies all the time, right? And like just getting all this, anxiety and fear and like just really attached and and attracted to that, you know? It's like, and we live in a world we can access that all the time if we want to, whether it's consciously or unconsciously. So just really being mindful, I think the more we wake up, the more we're mindful of like, why am I being drawn to the things I'm drawn to? Why am I bringing this in and not that in? Why am I? Because that's the kind of the flip side, which is kind of cool about the world we live in, is like we have a lot of choices about what we want to fill our consciousness with and what we don't want to fill our consciousness with right now. And being mindful that you can just fill your consciousness with what's happening in the moment, and what's happening in the moment is like usually not that much. It's usually pretty simple. It's almost like the thing you have to face, honestly, is boredom. That's kind of like the demon to the dragon to face. I think for a lot of us in like modern culture, it's like we get easily bored, and so we want the drama, you know. I was talking to my Brad Eastland's like, no, I don't. No, but I was talking to my brother on the phone yesterday, and he's a psychologist, and he's like, people just love drama. They just something about us. We want the drama. We're like looking for it, you know. And he was even talking about like, like women. I don't know if this is still popular, but like, the soap operas and all that stuff, right? But then he was talking about like men, because he was watching this documentary about professional wrestling. And professional wrestling is like soap operas for men. It's like these guys are like, oh, you cheated on my girlfriend, now I'm gonna punch you, and like you were mean to my dad, and like it's like all this like soap opera stuff. It's like the same thing in this different way. Um, and there's something in us that's like, it's like we're like bored, so we're like drawn to this kind of stuff until you're not, you know. And I think you can still experience, like you can still like, life does have drama, so you can experience it, but you're not experiencing it in the same way. Like it's almost like we're all kind of laughing here, right? So it's like you can experience drama in more of a playful way, with not taking it so like, oh, like you're so like feeding off it. And the breath helps with that. Jacob says, someone came and turned the bubbles on and we can't hear anymore, but we're in the amazing conversation about this deep connection that blossomed from the circle. Grateful to be here. Grateful for you guys. Grateful for the awareness, blessings, and love. And when they turn those bubbles on, that's a problem. But yeah. Anybody else have anything they want to share? I think that we can wrap it up. I think that just inviting people, yeah, just to really kind of be open to um because when we come into a space like this, there can be the idea of like, I'm coming to fill my mind with more knowledge, which could happen, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's totally fine. But just to kind of be aware that there's a deeper intention than just the surface level of the mind happening here, that we're opening two together, and we're supporting each other to deepen in awareness and awakening two together. I think it's gonna get like pretty awesome. So do I have any more announcements to make? Just a reminder about the one-day retreat, Saturday, November 16th at our place here in Southwest Virginia, in Atlanta in October. We got the Telegram group happening. And if anybody's interested in personal sessions with me in person or online, let me know. We'll be here again, same time next week. And this gets shared as on YouTube if you want to watch the playback, and Spotify. Invite your friends to join us. And appreciate you guys so much. Have a great night. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.